Hello viewers, this video lecture is presented to you by SM Economics. In this video lecture, we will explain about the concept of immiserizing growth that was given by Professor Jagdish Bhagwati. So without wasting any time, let's move on to the concept. So when we see growth and trade together, we mainly have two effects. The first one is a wealth effect. So a wealth effect says that as the economy grows, the output in the economy will grow. And as the output in the economy will grow, the wealth in the economy will grow. And due to increase in the wealth, the welfare of the economy will increase. So wealth effect is a positive effect. As the economy grows, due to a positive wealth effect, welfare in the economy grows. And the process of that is as follows. Uh, as the growth takes place, the total output will increase. Due to increase in the total output, your wealth will increase, and due to increase in the wealth, your welfare will increases. So the wealth effect has a positive effect on the welfare of growth. And the other effect is a terms of trade effect, TOT effect. Now the terms of trade effect says that as the economy grows, the total output in the economy will increase. And due to this increase in the total output, your volume of trade will also increase. But due to that increase in the volume of the trade, your terms of trade will deteriorate. And due to that deterioration of the terms of trade, welfare of that economy will decrease. So the terms of trade effect is a negative effect because due to growth, the welfare is decreasing as a result of terms of trade effect. So the effect says as follows. First, you will have growth. Due to the growth, your total output will increase. And due to increase in the total output, your volume of trade will increase. And due to increase in the volume of trade, your terms of trade will deteriorate. And due to deterioration of your term of trade, your welfare will decreases. So, this term of trade is a negative effect. So now, the net welfare effect in the economy in the presence of growth and trade is the sum of wealth effect and terms of trade effect. Here the wealth effect is a positive effect and term of trade is a negative effect. So now what does the concept of immiserizing growth says? What does the Jagdish Bhagwati, Professor Jagdish Bhagwati said in his research paper? So he simply said that the deterioration in terms of its TOT may be so large that it more than offset the positive wealth effect and there is net decline in the welfare of the nation. That is simply saying that your negative term of trade effect is more than your positive wealth effect. So the deterioration in term of trade may be so large that it more than offset the positive wealth effect and there is a net decline in the welfare. So since here it is saying that this effect, terms of trade effect is greater than this wealth effect. So your net welfare will decrease. This is the concept of immiserizing growth. Now let's understand this immeasurizing growth with the help of a simple diagram. So here what we will do is we will take all the standard assumptions that we take in the Hashkarol and other models, that there are two nations, nation 1 and nation 2. There are two commodities, two factors of production, and nation 1 is labor abundant, nation 2 is capital abundant. All the standard assumptions follows. So we will try to explain this with the help of a production possibility frontier and your terms of trade line. So the diagram for the immiserizing growth goes as follows. So here I will draw a first quadrant. Here I am drawing this for nation 1. Okay, so here we will take on this axis the commodity X. Commodity X, that is exportable. That is exportable. Okay, and on this axis, let me increase it a little bit. On this axis, we will be taking commodity Y. Commodity Y. commodity Y, that is importable commodity for nation 1. So now initially in short run, what we will have, let me draw it with blue color. So in the short run, we will have a production, we will have a production possibility frontier looking like this. Okay, and we will have initial term of trade like this. Let me denote this initial term of trade as P note. And so under this term of trade, initially you are producing at point B, the economy is producing at point B and should be consuming somewhere along this term of trade line. Let's say at this point E, and this is the indifference curve. Let me say it as I note. So initially this is the situation in short run. Now suppose in the long run, over the time, productivity of labor and capital increase only in production of good X. Here we are saying only in production of good X for simplification of the model. So let me write it for you. Assuming that productivity of L and K, labor and capital, increases in production of commodity X only. This is just for simplification. So see, how does growth take place? Your productivity increase over the time, and due to which your growth takes place. So as the growth takes place, and we are assuming that only productivity in good X is increasing, so your production possibility frontier will pivot. And now in the long run, we will be drawing with the red color. So what will happen is that your PPF will become something like this here. See, it will become something like this. Now here two things will take place. First will be your wealth effect, because now your output is more, because PPF have moved outwards, your output is more, and labor, let assume that labor is constant, so your wealth is increased and you have a positive welfare effect. But terms of trade will deteriorate, and what immiserizing growth says that this deterioration of terms of trade is so large that it becomes something like this. It becomes so large that it moves to this point. This terms of trade P1, it deteriorates to P1. Here I have to write one more thing, that P1 is less than P naught. This is something that you have to keep in mind, and that P1 is less than P1. So terms of trade has reduced here. So in this new scenario, the economy will produce at point C, this point of tangency, and consume somewhere on this area. Let me on this IC, let me denote it as IC1. So now economy will consume at point G. So what has happened here is terms of trade deteriorate so much from this P naught to P1, such that P1 is way less than P naught, that your net effect is negative. You move from a higher indifference curve to lower indifference curve, from point E in consumption to point G in consumption. So this is a diagrammatic explanation of immiserizing growth, that terms of trade effect is so negative that you move to a lower indifference curve due to growth. Now there are various reasons given in the theory, like why this Immiserizing growth happens. So let's see what are those reasons. So the first reason why immiserizing growth happens is when the growth tends to increase exports substantially. That is the case when you grow, only your exports are increasing. So what is happening that you are supplying too much to the market, and according to normal laws of the market, as your export will increase, prices of your export will decrease, and as your price of export decrease, your terms of trade will definitely fall. So fall by a very significant amount. So you will see immiserizing growth. The second reason given by Salvatore is that nation is so large that an attempt to increase the exports lead to deterioration of terms of trade substantially. The cases when nations are very large, for example US, if US try to increase its export now, it will have to decrease the price, like prices will fall. You can take the example of even crude oil. So when these OPEC and other oil producing nations, when they try to increase their export of oil, the price of oil falls. The price of per barrel falls. Right now it is somewhere around 100. If they try to increase the export of oil, it will come down somewhere to 70, 80, or even lower than that. So in that case also your terms of trade will fall substantially. Third reason given by Salvatore is that income elasticity of rest of the world demand for your nation's export is very low. That is, when as the growth takes place, the income of other nations increases. And since their income elasticity is very low, their demand, like they will not demand more from you as their income changes. Like demand will increase by less. That is the less low income elasticity says. So now since the demand will increase very less, but as you are growing, you are supplying more to the market, so there will be like more supply in the market than demand, more extra supply created in the market than demand. So in that case also your terms of trade will fall very substantially and might lead to decrease in welfare. So this is the third reason. And the fourth and the final reason is when a nation is very heavily dependent on the trade. That is, like you are very heavily dependent on the imports and very heavily dependent on the exports for your income. So in that case also a decrease in the terms of trade will lead to decrease in welfare. Sorry, here it is written as failure, it is welfare. So if you are too heavily dependent on trade, like for your consumptions you import everything, and for your income you export because you will have to pay for that. In that case also a decrease in terms of trade will decrease your welfare, because for your income, if you are dependent on your exports and the price of your export is going down, so definitely your income will be going down, and if your income is going down you will be able to import less, so your welfare will decrease if you are heavily dependent on the trade. So these are the four reasons in which we observe immiserizing growth. So now if you find this lecture helpful, you can hint us with a like button, and please share and subscribe to those who are in need of this lecture. Thank you. We'll meet you soon in with the next lecture.